Chapter 45. Angelica waited outside the police station. She was close enough to see if anyone left the place, but far enough away that she wasn't obviously sitting there waiting. The cover of a tree was matched with the cover of a scarf. She had grabbed a lift back with the police car that had taken Javea and Flavio back, and from there she had grabbed a cold drink to sip gently over the course of half an hour. That was the plan at any rate. And that was as close as Angelica had to a plan. She knew that someone exiting the police station was reason to watch and maybe follow. Whether that person was Javea, Kiki or Flavio was still to be determined. If it was either of those who worked for the police, then she would grab a coffee and chat. She hadn't spent any time at all with Kiki, but from the brief encounters she'd had, Kiki seemed really nice. Flavio was an altogether different character. He seemed evasive and emotional. The sound of his sobbing was still in her ears. It would remain there for some time. The breeze was warm. She wanted a cool breeze to counter the heat that seemed stuck on the streets of Javea, radiating from above with the sun, below with the pavement, and all sides with the warm air. She didn't know how to get away from it outside the comfort of an air-conditioned building. It was her third summer in Javea, the start of her second full one, and she still hadn't managed to work out how to cope with the heat. The afternoon siesta seemed to be the only way the locals dealt with it. When it's too hot, then go to sleep until it cools down. Tommy was learning this way. His school had a siesta time where the kids slept on mats on the floor. Maybe there was nothing to it but to give up and follow the crowd. But Angelica was never one for following a crowd. She did things her own way. She had considered getting her long brunette hair chopped, cut back to a sensible length, as her mother would put it. Angelica felt that her hair was part of her identity. She couldn't remember a time when she didn't have long hair, so that idea went out the window. Having her attention between the heat and the police station, Angelica slipped into some kind of stupor, one that only some movement from the police station door she was staring at would break. She ran the facts over in her head, the facts as she saw them. One man had been killed. Both her and Javea were now sure that wasn't accidental. The person who had died was a killer himself, albeit decades later. Then the man they now knew as Flavio Morrow had run off, twice. That was more than a coincidence. As Angelica wandered, her mind turned things over and over. Something occurred to her. She hoped she would have had the time to explore her thoughts. As she wondered, the door of the police station filled with a figure in dark clothing. It was Flavio Morrow. He left, looking around to make sure he wasn't being followed. Angelica looked the other way and counted to 15. She thought 10 was too little and 20 was too much. What if she turned around and he wasn't there at all? After 15, she looked back around and saw Flavio Morrow walking in the direction of the Arenal. Angelica knew what was between the police station and the Arenal. It was a place where she and Javea had spotted him in the ambulance. Artie Jackson's place. She set off 100 yards behind. She wandered aimlessly at times, safe in the belief that if she lost sight of him, then she would catch him up at Artie Jackson's. Angelica followed the trail for 15 minutes and saw Flavio get close to Artie's place. He walked up the steps to the landing where the apartment was. By this point, Angelica had sped up, getting as close as she possibly could. Javea had mentioned Artie Jackson as they came back in the car in the brief conversation with Flavio, but that was about it. Angelica didn't have the exact address, but she did have a good idea of the location from the fact that was where Javea had started chasing Flavio. She crept up to the doorway once she knew Flavio was safely inside. She listened to the conversation that was quietly emanating from under the floor. "You've been spoken by the police. How can I trust you now? They have nothing on me. I was only there for half an hour. Most of that was me stalling." "And when did you leave the police station?" 5 minutes ago." "What? And you came straight here? You're leading them to me, stupid boy." "I wasn't followed. And if I wanted to lead the police to you, then they would be here right now, not me." "Good point. But that doesn't mean that I suddenly trust you." "Is that why you're pointing a gun at me?" Angelica gulped. She stepped away from the front door as silently as she could manage and dialed Javea.